you kind of need to make up your mind which data role is for you. I think this is the most important choice early on. So what is it? Data scientist, machine learning engineer, data analyst, business intelligence, software engineer, depending what it is, and you need to get a grasp for what you want to do, but also what you got the technical skills for or the acumen for, and it's important to get that right. It is also determined, so to speak, very pragmatically speaking. If you think about your LinkedIn profile, or perhaps you're using a resume or a CV, it does need to say something out there. And I am personally not very fond of these LinkedIn profiles that say data analytics, data science, MLOps, Tableau, Power BI, and 25 other keywords right under your name at the top, because really what they're communicating is, I'm just throwing all these keywords at you. Maybe I optimized it for the search engine, but I'm actually not willing to tell you who I am professionally. So I'm really fond of LinkedIn profiles that say data analyst or data scientist or MLOps. If it's not just one, I'm also fine with LinkedIn profiles that say data analyst, data scientist. Then I know that these are the two things you can do or you want to do. But more than that, and I'm thinking, well, you don't have a professional identity, or maybe you're just an enthusiast, or you don't know what you're doing. So data role, you need to understand what it is, that who you are and how you communicate about this. Now, part of this today, and also what Newton AI is doing, is offering, for example, no-code solutions. And then it is not just AI, there is more. So there are other roles around data and artificial intelligence that can be had in industry. And if it turns out that coding in Python isn't your thing, then there are other things that you can do. It doesn't mean that you can't have a data career. You just then need to figure out what other kind of data career is available to you. And I have referenced here a report from the Royal Society in the UK that has a wider scope. And then another concept that I can give you is the notion of data literacy. So, we know about literacy and we know about numeracy, but with what we have at the moment, we also need people, we need companies, we need organizations to have more data literacy. And this is a wide field, and it's going to be really, really important also because lots of companies and lots of people actually aren't data literate. Yeah, data literacy is not quite the same as numeracy or being good at mathematics. It has something to do with the fact that you need to be able to understand probabilities, the logic of probabilities, what that means, and also, for example, what exponential growth is. And perhaps one of the things that we all learned together over the last 18 months in the COVID pandemic is just how difficult it is for people to understand what exponential growth is, and why, now that we have this Delta variant going about that is 6 times more infectious, why, again, the infection rates in so many countries are accelerating so much. Yeah? And you can see that maybe the people doing the numbers, the people in the medicine doing the computation get it, but then from there on, they need to communicate these to other people that need to take the action. And probably this is where the first problems occur. And then the politicians that need to take actions, they don't get it. They are not data literate. They don't understand this. And from there on, you run into trouble. So data literacy is a wide field that is going to afford a lot of career opportunities. Back to your data career. Now, you have, from what I know, 4 key challenges ahead of you. You typically struggle to frame your skill set. You probably have little or no relevant experience or domain experience. Companies sometimes prefer to upskill the current employees, and very often employers are not yet very good at finding matching talent. The exception may be some startups in Silicon Valley, and also some of the big players in the Silicon Valley, but elsewhere this is by and large still true, that employers will give you a long job description that they're looking for a data scientist, but if you really dig in and you go and ask them a few questions, you realize what they really need is a data analyst, because they have no data pipeline on which you can build models that work. So that's that. So I mentioned the data role, which data role is your best choice, but there's also another way in which you can kind of accelerate your career search and move forward. And that is by asking yourself at what type of company you want to work and which industry is yours. Now, sorry, like this. What do I mean with this? What type of company means there's a difference between working for a consultancy company or working for a startup or working for a large corporate. And you need to figure out what you want to do. So do you need a startup that actually is digital only and has a working data infrastructure? Is this where you want to go? Or can you handle a corporate that has lots of legacy IT, would like to do lots more data, and where the challenge for the next 10 years is actually building the infrastructure, putting sensors in their production facilities, and developing something where, one, their products become more data-driven, two, their business processes become more data-driven, and three, their production processes become more data-driven, for example, through predictive maintenance or predictive quality or whatever it is that you can do in an industrial company. So, or do you want to work for a consultancy firm? And if it's a consultancy firm, is it one that basically advises on AI strategy, or is it one that also does the implementation and the coding and delivers at least proof of concept, if not deployment? And then which industry? Is it finance, or is it agriculture, or is it medicine, pharmaceuticals? Where is it that you want to go? I think these are really the three most important questions. And perhaps you noticed here, what I'm not yet focusing on is, how much Python do I need, or where does my SQL need to be, and so on. These are more fundamental ones that you need to answer, and answering them well and for yourself being fairly sure about this is what makes a professional career successful. Because the technical skills is something you can learn over time. We've already had that today. I'm going to skip some of these and move on to a really pragmatic way of looking at this. So we're here tonight to kind of look at how to start a data career and how that might go best for you. Sorry, that was not how it was supposed to be. How that might go best for you. And I mentioned earlier that we're in this space and we've piloted for a while the validated CV to help people be more successful in the first and second role. And over time, we've developed an understanding of what needs to be in there. And now I'm coming to this pragmatic part. What makes a difference? What does it need to look like? And I'm going to focus on the CV or resume to help you understand what kind of skills or expertise you need for you to be successful and get those interviews. Yeah? Okay, 4 parts. 1 is technical skills. 2 is business skills. 3 is data experience. And the 4th one is your professional mission. What does that mean? So it means if you are in the field and you want to get considered for interview, you want to have that role as data analyst, data scientist, ML ops, whatever it is, you will get considered if you can highlight your technical skills, and the other side looks at the technical skills and goes, tick, yes. So another way of looking at this, the technical skills section in your CV or your LinkedIn profile is what gets you past the no. Yeah, because here you are applying. You want an interview. You want them to offer a job. There will be more than one applicant typically. There may be hundreds of applicants. So the first job of the company and its human resource department is to say no, 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 no. So if you want to get past the no, you have to highlight your technical skills. Okay, so now you got past the no and you are under consideration. Now, the interesting thing is that at that point, it's not so much your technical skills, but your business skills that become interesting. So the question is, well, so now let's say I have 200 applicants, 150 are out, 50 are remaining, 5 I want to interview, or maybe 10 I want to interview. How do I? So what else do you bring to the company or to the industry? So do you fit the company? Is this your domain? Do you have business skills? So can you work in a team? Do you understand what moves a business forward? Have you perhaps done this before? Or if you're coming out of academia, do you have transferable skills that are interesting? You know something about project management, or you know how communication works. You're good at presenting. So business skills. Be invited. Yeah. So this is the second step. Then the third step is, do you already have data or tech experience? And can you talk about it? Can you actually summarize it? This is the, can you tell it in such a way that your grandmother or your grandfather gets it, okay? Because obviously companies want people that work in a data career, but you actually need to be able to communicate with the rest of the company and the rest of the world, and can you do that? So that makes you stand out. If you are not just nerdy, but you are nerdy and can speak about it or present it or something like this. That's the combo that gets you more interviews. And then, of course, overall, what's your focus and where are you going, and does that match where the company is going, and where the company sees itself at the moment and in future? That's so to speak the combination that gets you more interviews if you kind of nail them. Okay, so now I've told you what this is, and now I'm going to dive in and give you examples and talk through examples to get this across. So technical skills. I have seen dozens of CVs where people kind of list their skills. It then says Python, deep learning, project management, creative thinking, R, Spark, PyTorch, Pandas, NumPy. That's not a profile. That's not even an intelligent list. It's just a list. It's confusing. So you need to guide your reader to the technical skills profile. You need to organize it in such a way that they can understand it. I've given you an abstract example here and urge you to use headlines for comprehension at a glance, okay? And here's an example, okay? And what am I after? So imagine your application is under consideration. Unfortunately, it's Friday. It's 2 p.m. in the afternoon, or in the US, it's Thanksgiving. So just before Thanksgiving, I've got 50 CVs that I need to go through. Okay, help your reader. Tell them at a glance what you've got, what you're good at. This is what you're looking at. Okay, so it says technical skills is organized, programming languages, data analytics, ETL pipelines, machine learning. Together, they give a profile. Then it lists some of the tools or languages or methods, and it kind of indicates some of this stuff I've been doing for years. Some of this is new, but here you go. That's the package. That's my profile. Another example is here. Okay, these of course are people who are technically more advanced, but you kind of get the idea. You need a profile to emerge that the other side can kind of get in 10 seconds. Next one. I spoke about the business and organization skills, again, so to speak, abstractly speaking. So for those of you that already have experience, professional experience, it's your business skills. For those of you that are students or somehow in academia or transferring, say, from a domain that isn't very technology oriented. So I've seen people move from education to data careers. So then you have transferable skills. The question is, what is it that you've done? If you look at this again, you see it's well organized. There's a clear profile. There are examples, and you probably see at a glance also that these examples are very specific. So let's look at a specific example. This is somebody with prior business experience that then moved into a data career. So it says, I use project management, for example. I use Gantt charts to schedule my laboratory work, instrument time and thesis writing, and so on and so on. The thing is, Gantt charts are a specific tool in project management to show dependencies among work packages. So this really makes clear that somebody has those project management skills, and a company will recognize these. Another example for the same here, transferable skills. So say interpersonal communication, optimize project progress via weekly scientific debates with superiors and peers. So this is somebody that's been in academia, actually at PhD level. Then the question is, what were you doing at your PhD level? Same is true at the master level. What were you doing in terms of transferable skills that you did over there that would also transfer to a business context, because actually the methods or the procedure or the way of things are similar enough. And this is the point about saying I had weekly debates or weekly group meetings, or I did seminar talks, or I spoke regularly at international conferences, because all of this kind of communicates I can be trusted to go up in front of a group of people and make them understand something or teach them something or show them something. Therefore, I can take the results of the work or an idea or a project plan and kind of make it happen with the rest of the organization. And that's really important. Yeah. So many companies are now looking to scale AI across the enterprise, and actually scaling AI across the enterprise, of course, is a technological challenge. But it's just as much an organizational challenge. And if it fails, it will probably not fail for technical reasons. It'll probably fail for organizational reasons. Yeah, people not getting it, people obstructing, people not wanting to do it, communication not working, and 3 other things. So this type of stuff for a company that you show that you have it and you give specific examples from your life, that really makes a difference when considering. And then in Blair's presentation earlier, you already saw that. So some of these concepts were already popping up there. So I think we're aligned on this. Next one, the data projects or the data vignette. So how do I do this? What is this about? The idea here is to ask yourself whether in data or tech, you've already done something. Now, it could be that it's just a GitHub project. Fine. But maybe there is something in your earlier life that already was data or had data relevance. If you're here tonight and you're thinking of a data career, chances are there is or there will be. And then the thing here is to tell the other side, to make it clear that you have this experience, you have some know-how, you've done this before. Here's again another example. So this is the truth of the matter is, of course, when you look at this, your grandmother will still need an explanation. But it's the effort to kind of communicate in as simple and plain English as possible what it is that you've done that is and what is interesting about it, and perhaps what was your achievement with it. And the thing is that if you think about communication today, I don't know, do your data project in a tweet. Yeah, it'll be probably a familiar challenge. So do your data project in a tweet. So are you able to communicate what you're doing really to the point, succinctly, so that the other side at least has a good idea what it is that you've achieved? Now, there's a bonus point to this, or there are even several bonus points to getting this right. So one is it forces you to sit down and ask yourself, what kind of experience do I have and how do I communicate that properly? The next thing is, if you get called for interview, you've written something that the other side can use to launch. So if you do something like this, it's great. It's great for the small talk before the interview actually gets started. So somebody's, I read on your CV you were doing this interesting problem. Can you tell me more about it? There you go. It's your home turf. You warm up, it helps. Even in the formal interview situation, it's like that. So you've written something that's interesting. Also, of course, such a short summary is always a teaser, right? So you're likely to get questions on this. Again, it plays to your advantage because you have done your homework, and if you've condensed it like that, you can expand on it, and it makes for easier sailing in your interview process. Okay, so I've gone through the first 3. Here's actually, so to speak, a work vignette to close this off. So this is somebody that's been working in a tech-related stuff around looking for materials that can replace silicon. It's not strictly a data experience, it's something else, but it works equally well. Okay. The 4th point I mentioned is the search and mission statement, and I will right away draw your attention to the one in the middle. I'm bringing machine learning skills to the energy industry to help decarbonize the supply of heat and electricity. This is still the best mission statement, I've seen, and I saw this one like 4 or 5 years ago. Why? Well, it basically says, I have machine learning skills. I want to work in the industry, or already work in the energy industry. And if you are, in the wind or so you're dealing with wind or solar stuff, sun stuff, then I'm your guy. Or perhaps if you are a more traditional company, but you have this kind of stuff going around wind and solar energy, then yes. If you are really the oil and gas industry, then no. If you're a grid provider and you want to move in that direction, then again, yes. So it really says, I want to work in that industry. I have a particular direction. I want to help decarbonize the supply of heat and electricity. You got a job in that direction. I'm your guy. And it's also really simple for a company, because such a short and simple statement basically says, this is my main interest. So it also tells a company, this is this guy's main interest. So we're doing this. We want to talk to him, because at the end of the day, the thing is, there are plenty of professionals and plenty of people like to have a job, but that's not the same as having a professional career. Yeah. So, and you would always want to talk to somebody that has a professional career in exactly what you're doing and where you have need. So the point here is also going back to the very beginning. This field is growing so rapidly. The demand is so high that you cannot really miss an opportunity of talking to somebody that has a clear focus, a clear mission statement, because there simply aren't that many, and your need, so your demand is still higher than the supply. So you're not going to miss out on this as a company. So here again, another example. So if you're just starting out, this is actually somebody that just got hired. So this is a data scientist with a PhD focused on a particular problem, saying that how many years of experience he has, and then kind of specifying that he's looking for a new challenge. And then to the point of saying, actually, I would like to be in these cities, so Barcelona, Madrid, or Lisbon, then from when? And by the way, he started in October, preferably in such and such a team. So this has several advantages of doing it like this. Yeah. So at the beginning, it says, I'm a data scientist. So you, again, data role, you clearly say what your data role is or what you do, you want it to be. You talk a bit about your experience, and then you look forward and you say, when and where am I looking? And it matters to companies, because if you can say that you're looking in, I don't know, New York or Seattle or Bangalore or New Delhi or I don't know, Berlin or Germany, so if you can be about this, then a company that has a job to offer there can immediately recognize that you are a suitable candidate, because this is where you are looking. Yeah. So it helps them to protect themselves against candidates that want a first job, but are actually only taking the first job already with a firm intention of leaving it after 12 months because it's not their favorite city or not their favorite company or just generally not to their liking. And for companies, this doesn't work. They want to hire people where they have a good chance that they will stay with them at least for 2-3 years. Therefore, telling them right away where you're looking, what type of company you're looking for, and so on, helps them to say yes and get you the interview and actually get you also a fair treatment in the interview, because this compatibility is there from the beginning. So here, another one for looking for a position in Germany or the UK. So it can also be 2 countries if you're flexible, pharmaceutical, chemical, or medtech company. I think that's also relatively clear where this is going. So I have done this presentation, as you probably noticed, fairly quickly, also in the interest of time, because we got delayed at the beginning through the Zoom outings. So to summarize, I have these 4 elements of the validated CV that I talked about. So you need your technical skills. And I think what you've seen there is that if you want to have a professional career in the field at the moment, from what we see, it always does matter whether you have that Python and SQL or not. And then there's another second way of looking at it. So we also very often counsel people, for example, to start as a data analyst with two comments on this. So it's perfectly all right to start as a data analyst, and this can also be business intelligence or some sort of marketing analytics or whatever it is, but something where there's numbers. Okay, and it's fine to start without Python or without SQL or without both even, although more difficult these days, you probably need SQL, but that is learned fast. And then you move on in your career. Chances are that your company that you started working for will be growing its data team anyway. And then you are already on the inside, you have the domain expertise, you have the company expertise. And if you keep learning some of the Python, your chance will come. So very often we've seen that within the same company, people can upgrade over time and change careers, no problem. Even if that doesn't work because your company somehow can't really make the data stuff work, there will be another company that will take you. So that is to this extent fine. And then I spoke about the other three things. So they are the ones that make kind of the difference in getting you more interviews and also making you more successful during the interviews. So the business skills, your prior experience in the mission statement. Okay, I'm going to take the opportunity to turn to a question that came in through the chat. So Manoy, if I got this right. Hi, Chris, I'm pursuing my postgraduate in data science and also an automation engineer at Vodafone. Okay, how should I approach the data science fields and what tools should I you probably mean what should be hands-on about. Okay, so if you're pursuing a postgraduate degree or diploma in data science and you've already worked as an automation engineer, I am guessing that you can program, you know how to handle code. Your postgraduate in data science surely includes Python, probably modeling, maybe even some advanced stuff, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, so you can perhaps tell us. So yeah, okay. So then you're one of those candidates that should basically on their LinkedIn or resume state I'm a data scientist and then clarify what you've done. And don't forget to mention that you have prior business experience as an automation engineer, because this makes you really interesting, right? So automation engineer is not that far away from a data career. There's overlap. There's automation. We just heard that in terms of AutoML. So great. I would not. So what do I want to say? Take this piece of advice, structure your LinkedIn resume or CV as suggested, and you should not really have difficulties in getting interviews. Okay, on to the next. Austin. I am currently a data analyst with a lot of practice in SQL and general business acumen and analysis skills, less so on the modeling. How useful do you think a master's program in data science would be for progressing your career? Perhaps say compared to trying to just get a job in a company. Okay, so Weston, the first thing is, can you find out in your current company whether they have a data science team and what you might need to do to get there? That's the first thing I would do. If that doesn't work, then the next question is, of course, so do you practice? How do you upskill and so on? So it's not so easy to give really good advice on this. It depends where you're living and what your availability are, whether you're good at learning things online, whether you need to do it in person, whether you could do a part-time degree or you would prefer a boot camp. I don't know this. Perhaps you know, or if not, perhaps you can find out. It then really depends on your preferred learning style, how to move this forward, if it is necessary that you do further training. The thing is, it kind of cuts both ways. So on the one hand, yes, so you have a lot of SQL experience, and yes, of course. If you upgrade and have Python skills, companies are more likely to offer you interesting opportunities. Completely clear. But on the other hand, doing lots of capstone projects on online learning platforms has been overrated for a while and has shown itself to be not always a guarantee of success, so to speak. And the reason for that is that this learning and doing finger exercises, and actually it doesn't really matter very much whether you're doing the finger exercises in some university course or you're doing them on some online platform, or it's a university course on an online platform, it's still academic and you're doing these kinds of finger exercises and they're not nearly as interesting as real stuff. And I'll give you an example. that academic example to make that clear. So something that we found is when people have a master's degree or a PhD, and they actually in what they did, they there was data and data analysis involved. So I don't know. The other day, I was watching a film called Hidden Figures. Actually, I watched it on Disney Plus. If you can go and find, I'll actually type the title in here so that you can go and find that film. It's absolutely amazing, so I recommend to watch it. The film is called Hidden Figures. It plays in the US, it plays at NASA. It's 3 Black women that in the 1960s were data scientists at NASA, because they were able first to do the calculations on paper and then next able to do calculations on the IBM mainframe that was deployed for the first time back then. And why am I telling you this? So, they upgraded on the job. If you follow the movie follows them from 1961 to landing on the moon. Yeah. And over those years, all the time, they were constantly kind of upgrading their skills, learning new stuff and so on and so on. And that is so much more important. And it's also what we found, that when PhD students have substantial data experience, kind of like on the job, even though it's an academic job, on the job, companies really like that. And they like that a lot more than Kaggle competitions and capstone projects. So goes back to how useful is a master's program? It can be useful, but please don't expect too much. I think this is what I'm trying to say. Don't expect too much from learning. The doing is more interesting.